This is our March tape. I'm making this one also in May, as I explained in the February tape. If my voice sounds a little quick or sharp or uneasy, it's because we're walking at a pretty good clip here. And when you walk, sometimes the air comes out a little sharper than usual. The reason that we're walking, and we are walking downhill, is I just blew out a truck tire. Came around a turn there, and there was rocks everywhere. There was really nowhere to go. And boom, I hit a rock, and that was it on the tire. So as I looked into the back to get the spare and to get the jack, I knew they weren't in there because I had just been using the truck for carrying things. So, be prepared, and whatever happens, for goodness sakes, don't take it personally. So, instead of sitting in the truck or walking out onto the rocks or climbing somewhere else, basically we're just shuffling on down the road, checking it out. It's a beautiful day. So the walk will do us good. You guys just kind of join in with me and you will get the aerobics with me. So it's just going to be kind of like a little fun walk. As naturally you look for the material today, I think that we'll use the material that presented itself. Be prepared. Being prepared is important because it can give you certain advantages. However, when you've learned to not take it personally, you will find that advantages or not, it really doesn't matter. However, there are it is more fun when you are prepared. So let's take a look at the preparation thing and what I meant by the whole statement. Basically, if you're not taking anything that goes on personally, you're just understanding that everything is in the flow and you're just moving right along with it, then whether you get a flat tire or not, it really doesn't matter. So there's a part of me that understands it really doesn't matter, and it totally really doesn't. If I would have been in a hurry to get somewhere, probably it might have mattered somewhat that I didn't have the spare tire and jack with me. Because we're people, right? I mean, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm going to look back there and go, no spare. You know I'm going to say shit. It doesn't matter how godlike you are, you know, if I say that mild. And what I actually said was, damn it. So, because I knew the spare wasn't back there. Now, this is coming down to a present time preparation type thing. It was like, yesterday I was building a garden. So, in the building of the garden, I had to take out the spare tire and the jack. And the reason that I had to do that was because I was carrying manure and straw and stuff for the garden. So while I'm doing that, naturally I had to empty the bed of the truck. When I emptied the bed, I remember distinctly taking out the jack and the tire, so there was room. And when you take things out, always be in present time. So when I take things out of the truck, I remembered exactly where I laid the jack. I remembered exactly where I laid the tire. And I also remembered exactly how I thought, no, you won't need this. Now, when I had the flat tire, sometimes people get upset. Okay, so let's just say you had the flat tire. And let's just say we're into the drama. And let's say that you were in present time when you took the jack and tire out of your truck. And when you took the tire and jack out of your truck, you just kind of thought, oh yeah, I won't need these. Then you go out, you have the flat tire, and now you go into blame. See, if you don't stay in present time, this is kind of a tricky little thing. See, when you were in present time, you took the jack and the tire out for a reason, because you needed more room and you didn't want to fill it up with manure and all this other stuff. And you also felt to yourself that you should be okay with this. Now, that's how I felt, and I am. I'm okay with it. I'm walking, having a good time, great exercise, starting to feel that, getting that heart pumping, getting those good aerobics. Now, I felt good about it. So my feeling in that moment was, hey, it's cool. You don't need a jack and tire. Now, another person, however, one still working on this, would look and go, well, okay, I was in present time when I felt it was okay, but this flat tire is not okay. I'm bummed. I got to walk. I got to do this. I got to do that. What happens is you were in present time, and then sometimes it looks like in the new present time, when the flat tire happens, we go into the past. We slip out of the present time, and we go into an old habit of an old complaint, of an old picture, judging that what happened could be wrong. And then sometimes we go into this blame thing, which takes us out of present time. Now, the unique thing was we were in present time the whole time. When we knew we took everything out and it told us that, hey, everything's going to be okay, hey, you got to trust that. See, and if you can just trust that, when the flat tire happens, you go, well, hey, it's still okay because that's what I affirmed. So rather than buying into a negative picture of it, you just work with it. Now, let's say I was in a hurry to get somewhere, well, let's not say that at all, because that's not the present time situation that happened. I only really like to work with what just happened. So basically then, in the situation that we have, let me repeat that again. Basically, in the situation that we have, we were in present time when we took the jack and tire out because we had the perception in a futuristic point of view in the present time that everything would be okay. Flat tire came along. I decided that because I knew it was perfect, the walk was great, everything was working great for me, and so everything flowed smooth, other than a damn it, when the tire went flat, because I knew I didn't have the spare and I knew I was going to end up walking. But staying out of blame was the key, and now I see how perfect it was, because it gives me like the perfect tape to make. I still am in present time, doing the thing, hanging out. What I haven't done is gone into the future to find out what I was going to do when I get back down to the bottom of the mountain. Because by going too far into the future then and starting to perceive that, that starts to limit the things that could happen. Somebody's liable to come down the mountain. So, I could theoretically get a ride and things would happen differently. So what I do is stay right here, right now, work what it is, and don't judge it, because I knew it was going to be perfect. So whatever this walk is doing, it is a great, fabulous thing for me, rather than, oh, bummer, I have a flat tire. So that's kind of like a little simple example there of be prepared. And, in the preparation, you knew you did everything right. You knew that the tires would be okay. Well, you knew you wouldn't need the jack or whatever. Even though you do, you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm kind of having I believe I'm hitting the point. You were in present time. The only thing that brought you out of present time is when you judged that you got a flat tire. If you didn't judge you got a flat tire, you continuously stayed in present time, and instead of going into blame, which would have been something that would have pulled you into the past, you don't. You enjoy the still present moment of the walk and everything else, which opens up you to a free flow for the day, rather than, oh wow, my day started out with a flat tire, this is a bummer, this is that, because then you can go into the future in the present moment and really do a lot of things there, especially from the negative point of view. Because if you go, well, I've got a bad tire, and you start your whole day out and you can't shake that feeling, present time is basically gone for you, other than that moment when you created in the present moment a complete day of the pits. So you were in present moment for a split second because you made your day be just garbage for you. And then that was the last blast of that present moment space. And that's how the future is dictated in the present. That's how you get caught in the future. See, in the past you would have got caught in the blame, and in the future that's how you get caught. It's sort of like once the action then happens, what we do is we put all of these pictures on the action, like the flat tire. Okay, the flat tire's a bummer. Now I got to do this. Now I got to do that. Okay, bummer on that. Now I've got to bother other people, and I'm going to lay my trip onto them as to how the flat tire was a bummer for the day. And I can take this story and I can run with it for the entire day, creating nothing but, bummer space in the future, and not even noticing that I'm out of present time. So, that's how easily an action of the day can either move you into the future or the past while you're feeling pretty good and hanging in there in the present moment, feeling like you've really got this thing together. It's sort of an example in being prepared, and then when you are prepared, accepting what comes up and not judging that, well, hey, I thought I was prepared, man. It said that it would be okay if I didn't take my jack and my tire. You can't buy into things like that. You have to flow smoothly with everything that goes on. Well, the day's a perfect day for teaching, and I can keep explaining now. See, just a minute ago I was saying how everything's perfect. You just keep going in the flow. Everything rolls along. And you know that everything's like just perfect, even though you're like walking. So here comes a car down the hill. Yeah, like who would have ever thought a car would have been coming down the hill? And they drive right past me, and it's a kid. And I watch him go past, and I think to myself, why didn't he stop for me? And then it's like, well, why should he? He was just on his way down the hill. And then I thought, well, I would have stopped for somebody if I saw him hitchhiking down the hill. And then I noticed that there was a part of me that almost wanted to make the kid wrong, but not quite, because by staying in the present moment, I realized that I was going to make a picture. The thing I just got done talking to you about, I was getting ready to make a picture that, wow, this kid was wrong. He didn't stop to pick me up. I mean, he knows nobody ever drives on this road. But it's perfect. And as he went by, I watched how my mind, as a personality, wants to jump into old pictures. And then by staying in present time, you watch how the brain would have presented this picture of resentment to you. You would have got into a feeling of less than because you think that you're a high good person and this person just drove past you, and you buy into the God brain part and you start making this other person wrong, and then you transfer your frustration of a flat tire and a misjudgment in your evaluation and you project it onto another person. That's when I caught myself actually doing that. Now, what I've observed by staying in present time is that every situation, every split second of the day creates something new, something exciting to watch. How you work in the universe, how you perceive things. And I noticed that, hey, I was almost going to go with a judgment that I was a good person and that person should have stopped and picked me up because I would have done it to somebody else. And how absurd. Whatever anybody does is perfect. I mean, you can't judge stuff like that. That's ridiculous. And so this is another thing on how I stay in present time. And eliminate concepts and judgments that we have that we have inside of ourselves that we don't even notice or see anything about. There's another vehicle. He is going the other way though. It'd been great if I was going uphill. This walk is great. How are you guys feeling? Heart pumping? Yeah, acceleration. Well, this is kind of a new one. I walk a lot sometimes on tapes, but this is like on the road going downhill, so this is kind of an unusual thing. While I'm hanging out here, and tell you what, now that we're on the road, we'll just watch as the world comes by us and see, what happens and how to stay in present time of whatever. See, I could have taken the person not picking me up as a bummer, just like the tire, but the key is, whatever it is, stay clear. Now, when we're hanging out in reality, we got stuff coming coming at us like this, 100 times in an hour, you think? Or something's here, somebody's saying something there, employee turns around, we kind of look at him and go, God, what an asshole. I think not all of us do it because, some of us don't use that approach, but a lot of us kind of make little quick judgments like that. And the instant you start to make one of them, man, you have got to slam on the brakes. You have got to pull yourself back into present time, because remember, whatever thought, whatever little judgment you put out there, man, that baby reinforces itself to come back into you. And the whole key in getting to God is to start eliminating those things so that the veils and the the values that we place on things that keep us from lifting the veils to the essence of God. I mean, this is what we're working on. It's these little tiny judgments that we don't even think are judgments or anything that, kind of keep us on this physical plane. Now, I've observed that by staying in present time and staying out of the judgments and staying out of saying stuff like that and staying out of expectations and just working on that stuff continuously, I tell you, as a personality, I'm happier. It's not that I'm even happy. It's just when you start to get so clear, it's a joy to work on yourself. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, wow, check it out. Then you just caught yourself doing this again. Oh, wow, man, and you got through it. It's like you're doing that all day long. And you're not really doing anything but enjoying every split second of the day to its fullest. I mean, life is supposed to be fun, and when we live it, we're supposed to be enjoying it. And I find that the rushes that we get from the physical plane, like new cars or a house or going out or having a party or any of those things, they're good, but they all deal with the pictures of the physical plane that I think make fun. When I'm really in the God thing, having a good time and like just being, the thing that you work for. And remember, your personality is there enjoying this because it's not into judgment and it's not into this other stuff. So your personality is just sitting there observing itself, constantly pay attention and not correct itself, but improve itself continuously in clearing the attachments to ideas and concepts that make us believe we should have a plus or a minus effect from things. Staying in the present moment, we get to enjoy the pleasure of letting go of attachments and feeling a pure essence of joy that comes over you when you know that these things that you're working on are leaving your body and that you can feel it. And there's nothing more greater than the joy that with this less attachment that you've just gotten yourself past, that's one split second more in the day you've got to think about God, which is like the whole point. See, on the physical plane, we make utensils to save us time, so they become time-saving utensils. Come a few more cars going up the other way, so you might hear them in the background. Actually, quite a few. Wow. A lot of people coming up here now that the day's starting to break. Well, I figured we've walked a little bit. How you guys feeling? Breathing good? In, out, in, out. That's it. Now, on the physical plane, we make, time-saving tools so that we have more time for leisure or more time to ourselves. Like electric toothbrushes and fancy stuff in the kitchen, all these time-saving gadgets. Okay, now, as an essence, as a divine being of light, instead of it being on the physical plane, what we're doing is we're removing attachments from our life by using God as the aspect. So that's what we save our time for. In other words, we're eliminating attachments that we have to the physical planet in terms of judgments and evaluations, which allows us to have more time to think about God. The more you think about God, the more you would start to create more devices to save more time, to spend more in the divine energy rather than, working. So it's sort of like a parallel. We invent time-saving machines so that we have more time to save, and on the divine level, we create being in present time so that we can eliminate and save ourselves more time, so to speak, so that we can hang out with God more and share in the divinity. See, there's got to be a reason that we're going to God, and the reason is because every split second of the day is magnificent. Every split second of the day is like heaven. And by eliminating judgments and concepts and staying in present time, you've started taking the weight, which is caused by attachments, which are caused by ideas that we believe are are real. So, yeah, let me try and rewind this back. By lightening up, by getting rid of the attachments, by staying in present time, by getting rid of those things that hold us to the physical plane, we have more time to think about God. Let me try and cover something here. See, I've got all these thoughts running through my head from concepts and ideas that I work with, so let me try and put this down on tape. In present time, and basically in the understanding of time. Now, present time and understanding of time are a little different. There are ways for you to save time and to lose time. Now, when you learn how to save time, this is how you as a human being begins to understand and how to manipulate time on a physical plane. When you learn how to save time, example, so say I need to teach a little more in a workshop, so it seems like I've been teaching for 2 hours, but I've only actually taught for 1 according to the clock. So I got a lot of material in a shorter length of time than what everybody thought. Okay, well, basically I was saving time. I was using it in such a way that I might have had it saved up from somewhere else so I could get 2 hours worth of stuff into 1 hour because I had an extra hour's worth of time saved. Now, hanging out in present time is a little different than hanging out in time and using time and saving it. So I want to kind of clear this thing up about by being in present time, you have more time to think about God. That's true. There are also ways of saving time when you're in present time, not all the way but close. So you're saving time because within this band, there's like an area where you can go forward and back, and that's where time, the magical aspect really works. Explaining time would basically take a whole weekend, but I just want to start touching on it a little bit so that in the future when we do start talking about time you have definite ideas as to what I'm referring to. See, the key is in our divine understanding is to be aware of God every split second of the day, this magnificent essence, and if we are aware of it, the more aware of it we become, the less attached we are on the physical plane, because the essence that this godness puts out that we are a part of, when we get into the full flow of that, it's sort of like letting go of our attachment to our mother, or our attachment to the womb, or our attachment to the feminine aspect, or that creative force that made us. We all have that thing within us. To let go of that. See, that's all physical plane stuff. To let go of that attachments allows us to ascend into the higher states, basically. Where when you're feeling God, it's like when you're feeling the attachment to Mother Essence, you know what that's like, because you remember what it was like being a baby. But you also realize that you let go of that essence and you go out into the world to manifest whatever it is that you are. It's sort of like that's what the physical plane is like, that motherly aspect. And then the divine plane is sort of like you letting go of that attachment to the creative form and then stepping out as your own person, as your own adult, male or female, whatever, as your own essence. You've let go of the creative attachment to form and you've stepped into the godness, which is your own personal life. the attachment to form is left, and all of a sudden you're like, when you let go of the creative form and you let go of your parent and you step out into the world, that experience is the same as when you develop yourself, and you realize that your habits and your attachments on the physical plane keep you attached here, and you'd rather be thinking of God, and all of a sudden there comes that time where you start to get a handle in present time on how to let go of attachments, and you start letting go of them, and all of a sudden it's like you start taking your step into the life of God, sort of like when you left your mom and started becoming, like a 1-year-old or 2-year-old, and you started to walk. You were out there on your own, using it for stability and using it for knowledge, until finally, you flew out of the nest at 18 or whatever it was. It's the same way when you start becoming aware of how you are functioning, and that when you start realizing that you are letting go of physical habits and attachments that are keeping you stuck to this plane, you start seeing how you can let them go in present moment, and what it's like to step into the totality, to step into the divinity and have peace and joy and this godness all the time. It's sort of like, leaving the nest at 18 and going out into the world and seeing what it's like. It's a magnificent experience. Well, so is God. It's a magnificent experience once you start letting go of that physical plane stuff. Okay, so let's kind of flip on over to the other side and check in and see what's going on there. Thanks. And in present time, doing all these things at once. Woo, boy, this is almost too much. But not quite. And it is total fun. Well, since I've had to switch from one side of the tape to the other, my day has somewhat rolled along again. Car coming up, I knew the person, a fellowship person, smiled and waved, and then for some reason it was like, well, of course, she would stop and turn around and pick me up, but it was like, yeah, but I'm having so much fun making this tape. It'll actually be interesting in hearing how this tape turns out, because I've noticed that as I've been walking, how the adrenaline starts to flow, and I'm walking fairly fast. It's not so much adrenaline as endorphins, so I'm getting a runner's high, which is kind of unique. But I'm having basically a great time. The walk is accelerating. This is so healthy for us. I send all my highest thoughts and my most imaginative abilities to take this accelerated feeling of life and joy and godness and wholeness and oneness. I mean, I'm just jazzed to share with you guys. I know maybe having a flat tire sounds stupid to you, and me making an example of it, but it's like, it's real life. It's the things that we got to deal with every day. It's sometimes the best examples, to use. Because it's what we do. So that's kind of like why I do stuff like this. Of course, you know how I am. So we're having a great day. God's shining on us. Angels are singing. Birds are rapping. We're moving along. Now, let's take a little bit of look of the acceptance of God into our hearts. There's a part where we say we're God, and when we're having a really good day, there's a part where we feel those bursts of divinity. But I've observed that sometimes when we're looking at ourselves from that way, it's almost like we're making a comparison of ourselves. We go, oh, I'm God at this time, and like, whoop, I'm not God at this time, I'm my personality at this time. And we try to discern, what time we're really God because things are going really, really well, and what time we're not. And the key is, like, if things are going really, really well, or if things are going really, really, really terrible, you're still there with God because you're still part of the whole. And so that experience that we're looking for in terms of acceptance of God, it's like you have to accept God into your heart when you're having a good day or a bad day or a neutral day, and that you just have to know that it's there all the time, and that it's not enhanced because you're having a good day and you're on this really clear high and you're just like bouncing around and you're going, oh wow, this is definitely divine. That's just you and the personality hyped up. I mean, that's an endorphin high, man. That's not divinity. The divinity is when you can really feel a sense inside of yourself, even when you're in an almost rage state of anger. There's a sense of knowingness, there's a sense of clarity. And you go, oh yeah, right. And boom, that divinity kind of takes back over. And without us even knowing or being able to explain how that divine aspect worked, we begin to let go of the anger or whatever it is that we're kind of struggling with. Just taking a break here. Add a stone in our shoe. That's not helping the troops. Okay. Get that all fixed. Yeah, if you need to adjust your tennis shoe, I know it's a rough hike, so you can just take a moment, tie that baby back up again. Okay. Sorry to slow you guys down on this run. Okay, I'm rolling again. We're up on our feet. Legs are moving. Heart's beating. Man, I'll tell you. This is a wonderful walk. Acceptance of God. Another stone. How could... It's alright. It's perfect. Acceptance of God. I think sometimes when we're having a good day, that's what we like to feel like God really is. Because everything feels so good. But you got to remember that even the feelings are illusionary. See, sometimes we think, well, the feelings are clearer. No, the feelings are as illusionary as the physical plane are. If you notice, those are the two planes you hang out in. Other than the God aspect, I mean, there's this reincarnation thing. You're either in the feeling or the physical. So it seems to me we're trying to break both of those patterns, not just one. Because physically, we're in both of them. You know what I mean? And in our other dimensions, we're in both of them. So I'm presuming you want to break the whole thing. And as I've observed on my little path, as I've kind of quested after the God thing, I noticed that when things go good for you, you know, and all of a sudden, like, you can see how all of the hard work you've put in on yourself is actually starting to pay off. And you start to get this really good feeling. You got to kind of hang out there and watch so that you don't get a pump on that, because God and feelings, God is very subtle. It's pure unconditional love. Feelings start to, they come and they go. God is consistent. See, feelings, they come and they go, and it depends, if you notice, on the reflection on how you are doing as a physical person. Now, when you're feeling really good about yourself, you're really loving yourself. But in order to love yourself in that way, I know this sounds strange, but in order to love yourself in that way, you have a lot of conditions on yourself. You have to be happy and joyful and exhilarated and feeling great. Oh, here comes a car. And there goes a car.